All right, everybody. I am so excited to be here right now. This is probably, and I have to be careful so I don't offend anybody, but the most, out of all the interviews and about all the interactions that we're doing, I am most excited for this session right here. We have Cameron Manwaring with us, Forbes 30 Under 30. Everybody in our generation has been affected by his work and what he does. If you've watched any of the front page videos on YouTube, likely he had an influence, indirectly or directly, with those videos. He basically helped create the philosophy behind our generation of influencers. So he is one of, if not the world's leading, how do I say this? He understands why people do what they do, especially when it comes to sharing content with other people. And so that skill set has allowed him to, like I said, be a Forbes 30 Under 30, to consult for not only top influencers, but top brands worldwide. So he now spends his time speaking at large VIP events, working with large companies. A couple years ago, you sold your ownership in Shareability,
Yep.
and has since then just been honing that craft, that skill set of saying, why do people do what they do virtually and in the real world, and then being able to actually turn that around and monetize that. So we're super lucky to have you here. I met Cameron a few months ago and developed a friendship with him, and so I'm excited for you to be here, dude. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, happy to be here.
Awesome. So I've talked a lot about, like, on the lives prior to the actual event, about what we're going to be talking about. But let's start off, usually before we deep dive into something, people are just interested, what's your backstory? Like, how did you even navigate into where you are now?
I was never going into YouTube specifically, or even social media specifically. I think there's a lot of people out here where they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And they're taking all sorts of classes, or doing all sorts of majors, or trying all sorts of jobs. And it was just kind of test. Mm-hmm. So I knew I wanted to do something. I was doing a class at BYU. I went there, studied a lot of entrepreneurship, did a lot of business classes. And I was doing one where we started this little mini international marketing company. Mm-hmm. And we were actually originally researching how to source products from the US to sell to China. And so this was a little different, where, things like consumables and other products.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and it was just this whole world of just figuring things out. And I met Devin Graham, aka Devin Supertramp. I had attended or been part of a couple of his videos just for fun. The world's...
Like an extra or something?
Yeah,
like that?
slip and slide. I'm the one doing the triple front flip through the air into the pond. Did the world's
are you serious?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh,
I did the
dude.
world's largest rope swing.
Okay.
Helped film it. I was also the only camera guy to also jump.
Gotcha.
So I was just having fun. And one time I was driving down to Moab and back with Devin, and it was like 4 a.m. And I was sitting shotgunning the whole way down and the whole way back after the shoot that day. I just started having all these ideas of saying, it seems like if you did this, and this, really you could build your subscribers. And if you did this, the videos could do that much better, and so on and so forth. And just started having these ideas. It was just a new world. And I think at the time, Devin, he had started and he had some really good success, but he was about 40,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. And so I said, just for fun, I'm just going to try some of these things. And so, of my own accord, not working with Devin, not getting paid, whatever, I just started marketing the videos. Mm-hmm. And things were happening. Like, the videos were amazing, but a lot of his videos were amazing, and these ones were doing that much better. And we were getting phone calls from Red Bull, and we were getting phone calls from Good Morning America and CBS and all these places that wanted to hear more. And so about a week after the launch of the world's largest rope swing, I get a phone call from Devin, and he said, "Hey, would you like to be my manager?" And I said, I have no idea what being a manager of a YouTuber entails or means, but I'm willing to give it a try. And so we put together a little 2-page agreement, and I ended up doing about 70 videos with Devin over the time that we worked together. And so I did everything from helping with productions to helping filming, sometimes helping editing, mostly in the marketing and distribution and strategy. I'd go through and we'd work on edits and figure out what to change and what to do. And it was this perfect school of being able to do video after video after video and seeing what was working and what wasn't. You know, why did this video we did for X Games do poorly with all these professional snowboarders and this and that, the other, and then this one that we did on a flimsy budget with just, you know, local kids, why did that one do so well? And just figuring out those principles. And so I became super focused on why people share what they do, why people make decisions, why they not only view content, but also share or engage with content. And during that time with Devin, as fun as it was, I'd added up all the time I was putting into this, which really it was mostly to learn.
Yeah.
But I was making like 12 cents an hour. You know, this is back before the big bucks.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so Devin actually referred some small projects that he couldn't take on for me to handle in terms of some local companies and startups. And so that's where I got into the first one. And first one I did was for a screen protection company called Clearplex. And they offered a budget of $500 to go and do a video. And that was the beginning. So that kind of just an intro into this world of where we started doing things for companies and for brands. Not just for views and just for people to like and subscribe and comment, but to like sell product.
Right.
I got approached by this company, Clearplex, and literally for $500 came up with the idea, shot the video, edited the video, did the music, did the marketing distribution. I mean, if I added up the time I actually worked on that video, I'm far in the negative.
Yeah.
But we launched that video, came up with this crazy idea of a grandma shooting a shotgun at phones flying through the air and seeing if the screen protectors would hold up, which they did. Go search Grandma Clearplex, you can check it out. But the great thing was that video we launched, I started doing the marketing distribution, and we had hundreds and hundreds of articles written in the first several days. Their website crashed several times. And there was a leaderboard on Adweek that used to be able to say the top shared branded content globally. And I remember after 3 days, we had hit several 100,000 views organically, not one paid view.
Wow.
After several days on the top 10, we were number 3. And right in front of us at number 2 was Coca-Cola. And right at number 4 behind us was Audi.
Wow.
And so I remember looking at that. These are commercials that had multi-million-dollar budgets, multi-million-dollar ad spends, big production companies, so forth. And I went, okay, this is something. You know, it's one thing to just go create a video like Devin Supertramp where they're really fun and really engaging. Devin now does amazing product videos as well. But at the time, it was more so just for fun.
Yeah.
So now how can we convert and sell product? And we were. Their sales went up like 300%. We did a second video a few months later. Sales went up 500% and maintained. So that was the first foray. And from there, it grew and grew. And we started working with brands like, you know, Pepsi, Turkish Airlines, ESPN, Cristiano Ronaldo, brands all around the world. And so yeah, that's kind of my intro to the world. I dropped out of school and just jumped in head first to just figure it out.
So are you, when you talk with people, do they think that you're kind of an enigma because you've got an incredibly analytical mind? Or what do you attribute being able to isolate the key pillars that allow a product video to go viral and then monetize that? Because, you know, we're talking to a group of, you know, tens of thousands of people that do create their own videos, and then they they force it viral by throwing paid advertising behind it.
Yep.
And so what's the difference there? Like, was it some sort of background? Is your brain wired differently? How?
I think to an extent, you know, some people have different strengths, and my brain is definitely wired to be very hypersensitive and focused on people.
Okay.
I love understanding the psychology behind people and why they make the decisions that they do. And since, besides videos, I've done this for the biggest real estate companies in the world. And I've been over to Dubai, and how are we going to develop a city that's the most shareable city development in the world? A city of 200,000 people. You know, like, it's the same principles. So it's something that anyone can learn. I think it's the time, though. You know, as you know, with the stuff you've done in e-commerce, anyone can do it if you put in the time. If you're willing to put in the hundreds and the thousands and the tens of thousands of hours to just analyze things. I mean, I can't tell you how many videos I've watched on the internet, and I go through one by one by one by one by one, and I used to just sit there and analyze and figure, why is this one succeeding and why is this one not? Why does this one get comments? Why does this one not? Why does this one get click-throughs to a website? Why does this one not? I think anyone can really figure it out. And so because of just figuring that out, one from an analytical perspective, but then also doing it. You know, I produce over 150 videos that organically have done at least 1 million views each. So most people in their lifetime, to get a 1 million view video, it's more common nowadays actually, because so many people are online. So it's possible, but to do it 150 separate times, and a lot of those are in the tens of millions and even 100+ million. It's just that time invested.
Well, I think even more impressive is I read the stat somewhere that your chances of being on the front page of YouTube on any given day are 1 in 2 million, and you've done it 25 times.
We actually, that statistic, I don't know which bio or whatever, I think it's more like 40 times.
Oh, 40 times.
Yeah,
wow.
Pretty easily. So that's
incredible.
Part of that. What else? I mean,
Yeah,
so I want to help, and that's
Right.
one thing I want to say to anyone watching this. The topic I want to really help with today is how to compete with big brands.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they have this mindset that, you know, well, we don't have a big budget. You know, some of the videos we did towards the end of when I was at Shareability were, you know, we were charging $250,000, $300,000 for one video.
Yeah.
That's a lot different than the $500 video.
Sure.
But some of the principles are the same. So I really want to get into anything that you'd like to ask in terms of how can someone compete with a big brand? Most of the people here are probably not a Fortune 500 company that are doing in the hundreds of millions or billions in revenue.
Very few.
But you're doing, you know, maybe in the hundreds or thousands of revenue, and some in the tens of thousands or millions. A lot of the principles, if you understand these things and you just make a few smart things. I mean, I've compared creating a viral video to river rafting, where you get in a raft and there's always going to be rapids and it's always going to change in the river currents and whatnot, but I've been down the river 1,000 times, and so I know how to navigate certain courses of it and get your video as far down the river as possible, whereas most people don't even know how to get their raft in the water. So that's what I really, if I can help at all,
Absolutely.
I'm excited to do that.
So we're going to have, and this is going to be viewed much after this live event, but I'm going to correlate it a little bit. I was talking with a company, so earlier on, with one of my past businesses, I was in security. And I was able to partner with Raphael. They were the private entity owned by the Israeli Defense Force. We brought over the Iron Dome to America, which is, you know, that's why Israel still stands. It blows everything out of the air and all that stuff. And I remember they kept telling me this is the most advanced software on the planet, over and over and over. And so we were like, okay, well, let's look at our clients. We really had to just go after cities that had, I mean, even big companies, it was hard for us to say, well, this is, so we were going after cities. We worked with Sheriff Linder, we're gonna make the first smart city and all this stuff. And years later, 5-6 years later, I jump on and I start playing with Facebook ads, and I'm looking at Facebook and I'm like, dude, like, anybody has access to what I see as the most valuable, powerful database that exists on the planet. My mom, my grandma, your mom, your grandma, trillions of data points, and if you can understand that and accurately use it, then it doesn't matter if Target sends out their ads and they predict who's pregnant before they even know it, like that big debacle, which cost hundreds of millions back in the day. Now it's open to everybody. And so in the like manner, because there's a lot of people here that use Facebook ads and understand the power of that and the unique period of time where the tools are now available for us on an advertising level, at least on a targeting level, to compete with all the companies out there that just used to dominate. You know, how does a brick and mortar company before Facebook get a nationwide view, you know, get their product out in front of everybody without hundreds of millions? And so in a similar manner now, I'm happy and I'm excited to talk about this topic because we can do that. And just with the people that I work with, there's plenty who are grabbing their iPhones and they're filming like a 30-second clip and they throw it up there and it looks like someone else's clip, at least from the outset. But the question that always comes back is, man, this guy's got 15 million views and I have 70. And I'm throwing money into this and it's still not getting views. So what are those things that someone, a small entrepreneur who's maybe got, you know, risking $1,000 is kind of a big deal. How can they take advantage of today's data and the internet to compete with big brands, like what you're talking about?
Okay, I love it. So one thing I want to talk about is some of the principles and things to look for when you're just starting into creating a video. Okay, creating any content. This really applies. This is what I love about the stuff that I've learned, is that it's very universal and it's infinite. We've talked about just in the last week some of the struggles and things that happen with platforms. With as much data is out there for Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or Snapchat or Vine, rest in peace. It's always changing. Yeah. And sometimes on a week-to-week basis, sometimes on a daily basis. So when we're struggling of keeping up with a platform, that's one thing. And anyone who's going to put their skin in the game and work hard, it's good because you're going to have the advantage over everyone who's not willing to keep up with it. On the flip side of that, the stuff that I do is not platform specific.
Universal, yeah.
Universal. You could create this piece of content and upload it to YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, anywhere, and it could do well based off of the principles of shareability, based off of if the video is not only good, but shareable. Mm-hmm. And there is a huge difference between a video that's good or even great and a video that is shareable. So someone doing something with their phone, totally fine. This one may have a ton of views and this one may not. And you may feel that they're the exact same. But when you start breaking down the principles of why people share things, this one could have one or two or multiple little things that are just slightly different, but that really relate to the success. So I'm trying to think of some of the more...
Yeah, so what are the fundamentals for that?
Okay, there's a lot, and I wish we could spend like days. We should get 1,000 people in and just go through case studies. One of the things I think that's really important to understand...
Actually, can I back up real quick right before you do that? Okay, so when we're talking about shareability, because we're talking about views right now, but what makes a product viable is the shareability of the video. If you're doing your recon and you're looking at competitors, some people are like, dude, this thing has 10 million views, but it's got 1,000 shares. Yeah. They're not generating revenue. That's not happening. No. You it's actually selling when the shares are through the roof. So me personally, my standard is if I'm not getting 2,500 shares per million, I'm shutting that ad down. I want to be more in the 10,000, 15,000 shares per million views for that product to really take off. So that's just kind of like my real archaic standard personally.
You're right on the money. So let me explain something. The importance of sharing is very undervalued. Sharing is the only way that you can change a customer's nature. Not just behavior, but their nature. So let me give you an example. We all have this desire to be consistent with ourselves as people. Mm-hmm. In the things that we share. If I say I love this basketball team, and I publicly put that out there to friends on social media, I talk about it, I say I love this basketball team, they're my favorite. 2 years down the road, even if they're not doing as well, because I want to remain consistent with myself, the chances are I'm going to stand by them.
Sure.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's because I've publicly put something out there and I innately, subconsciously want to remain consistent with myself. So when someone shares a piece of content, you can watch a video and like it and smile and whatever else, but once you share it, you are defining yourself as a person, and people share things that define themselves. So one example of that, I remember 10, 15 years ago, I had a cousin who was obsessed with NSYNC. And this was back before social media and Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook. So she'd get, People magazine articles and whatnot and cut out all the photos of Justin Timberlake and everyone else. And she had them taped all over the ceiling, on her bedroom walls, on the light switch. She would literally post all over her wall and paste everything. And that's what defined her. She loved NSYNC. Nowadays, it's no different, except for instead of on your wall in your room, you're actually putting it on your Facebook wall. So we share things that define ourselves. If I was to go on your Facebook and go 30 days back and look at every single thing you've posted, it is a conglomerate of who you are as a person. So here's one example. Some people, when we're sharing videos, we have to remember that people are selfish innately, and that they're really only going to share something that has value to them. And a big part of that value is whether it's quality enough or valuable enough to define them as a person. So we did one video for a company called Fresh Pet. It's a pet food company, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, big publicly traded company now. Mm-hmm. When we started with them, we came up with this idea for a video, and when we pitched it, they said, that's fun, that's great, this, but we're afraid that there's not enough brand or product mentioned, okay? And we said, well, look, if we make this a commercial, it's a commercial. If we make this a video that's more valuable, it'll be more shareable to the viewer. And innately, you're going to get more conversion because it's going to, like we talked about, increasing that share rate. Mm-hmm. If we're doing anything right now in this part of the conversation, it's how do you get that share rate per million up? Mm-hmm. So we produced this video. If you go watch Fresh Pet Holiday Feast, it's, we had 15 dogs around a big dinner table, all with human hands eating this big Christmas feast. The video, the night before we released it, it's 1 a.m. in the morning and we're supposed to release at 7 a.m. And I get a call from the CEO. And he gets on the phone, he says, Cameron, we're really worried about the video and we're considering pulling it. And luckily we had some conversations and talked him through principles enough where after answering some questions, calming his nerves on some things, he said, let's go ahead with the video. They were that close. The video in the first week did over 50 million views on Facebook. It did like 20 million views on YouTube. They had a I don't want to misquote, but it was between 3,000 or 4,000% increase to their website traffic. Their target demographic, it was the #1 trending video in the world for that demographic for like 3 weeks. Over 3,000 articles were written about that video, and conversations shortly thereafter, within about a month of the video coming out, and because of the exposure the video gave, led to them going into 3,500 different retail locations. And now if you go to Walmart, if you go to Target, you'll see Fresh Pet.
Wow.
And so here's a video that the company was this close to pulling because they were afraid that there wasn't enough of the brand mentioned in the video. And the principle there is that if we would have created just a commercial that was 100% this is the product, in some cases it's better to do that, and we can talk about that. But in this case, how many people really want to share a pet food commercial? Mm-hmm. Are you just chomping at the bit to go share that Friskies video that came out talking about how it's high in protein and your cat loves it, blah, blah, blah. We created something that people not only enjoyed watching, but they wanted to share. And what happened is that person shares the video, not just watches the video. They shared that video publicly. Were they sharing about the benefits and the health and whatever of the pet food? This is a luxury pet food. People pay a premium amount of money to feed their dog and their cats this premium pet food. Do they believe in that? And are they big animal rights activists or anything? No, not all of them. But they shared the video. They put it out there, whether it's just because it was funny, holidays made them feel happy, they knew someone that liked, pets and dogs and whatever, and so they capitalized on sharing that to connect with someone. Whatever the reason that they shared that video, and I could identify every one of them, they did. And now because they shared that Fresh Pet video, they are now a brand advocate of Fresh Pet. And so going back to wanting to remain consistent with ourselves, this is the importance of sharing. Not just views, not just likes and comments. That can happen. You can buy all of those. You can buy views, you can buy likes, and you can buy engagement and comments. You can't buy shares. Yeah. That's the one thing that it's their choice to do that. And once they do that, they'll be walking down, the grocery store aisle and they see Fresh Pet, and whether they shared it for that reason initially or not, they've publicly put out there some sort of content that relates to that company, and to remain consistent with themselves, you better believe that when someone asks them what pet food brands they like, they'll say Fresh Pet. Or if they're thinking about which one to buy, they may buy Fresh Pet. And they did. We saw sales go through the roof and things like that. And brand attribution. We don't even mention anything about Fresh Pet in the video hardly, yet more people recognized that it was them than any other videos that directly said it was Fresh Pet. So
It's incredible.
shares, I can't even tell you how important shares
Shares
are.
are the metric.
That's the only thing that will never change, no matter what platform people are using and how things change and evolve. If you can create content that is shareable, you can get conversions. And that doesn't matter if it's a cheap $5 product or a $6,000, $10,000, $100,000 product. Same principles.
This is one of the reasons why when we talk with people, our philosophy is, instead of having a broad general store, niche down to whatever you're passionate, what reinforces your identity that you're passionate about, and then create the community so that those that resonate with that identity, is it downhill mountain biking, is it climbing, whatever the case is, because then you're not just tossing a video out there that is about a pen. It's the pen that NASA took to the moon, or whatever the case may be, right?
Yep.
And so for someone who's doing maybe $0 to $1 million a year, that's a big gap, right? But that's still, in a year, $1 million, that's, they haven't, their revenue, their margins are going to be so big. How can they utilize this concept of sharing is the metric when they both choose products, because they're trying to find which products they think are going to sell well, and then advertise that? And how can they measure, how do they directly correlate a share ratio with that content that they put out there?
One thing is this, the perfect share ratio is 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Someone watches a video and they share it. And a great share ratio, 100-to-1. A really good one, 1,000-to-1. The closer you can get to that 1-to-1, amazing.
Yeah.
And one reason I'd want to focus on, how can they use this or why should they use this? People that are selling product, it doesn't mean you can just set aside Facebook ads. It doesn't mean you can set aside Google or anything else. But this is the only one that you can, in some ways, control. And that may sound, the opposite, because you can control how much money you put into an ad spend and how much reach you get. I can't tell you how many brands I know that the viral video you've seen them have, they paid millions for it. I mean, millions. Even Poopery, we worked on that video. $2 million went into the ad spend of Poopery.
Really?
In the initial weeks and months.
Wow.
They were making enough off of it where that was really the reason. It was a truly viral video and it did really well organically, but they were still putting in a ton of ad spend because they were getting it back.
Yeah.
So the best is this. You can buy as many eyeballs as you want. Remember, this is a company. If you have a big enough budget, and that's one of the advantages, you can have a product and you can say, I'm going to buy 10 million eyeballs to see this product. The one thing you can't buy is the shares. And so you can pay for PR, have websites write articles about it, have it on the news. You can pay for all that. It's all controllable with money. But if your video is not shareable, and if it's really not that valuable and it's not going to convert in terms of people engaging with it and sharing it, what's the point? Because you're going to spend for 10 million eyeballs, and if you don't even get one share, great. 10 million eyeballs saw it, but no one did anything. So if you can create something that at least has some of these principles of shareability, whether you're doing something 100% organic, and from the beginning you don't even have money for ad spend, that's okay. You can actually start doing videos without even a budget if you're creative enough and good enough and you come up with probably shoot on your iPhone. You can jumpstart your career with zero money if you're 100% this way. But then for the people that are doing up to $1 million and you want to increase that, don't waste all your money on a video that's not working. It's like what you said. So if we can create a video that has these shareable capabilities, whether it's because it's helpful, educational, funny, strikes an emotional chord, helps define someone, helps people feel part of something bigger than themselves, there's all these reasons that people to start a conversation. If you have some of those elements in there and it's actually truly organically shareable, then when you put that 10 million eyeballs on it, what if 10 million shares come from that? On that perfect 1-to-1.
Yeah.
And then that's when a video truly goes viral. People talk about viral videos. That's the reason we talk about it, is that it's actually viral. It goes from one place and it spreads here, and then it spreads, and then it spreads. Most people, if they pay for a promoted article, but it's not shareable, it stops there. You paid for those 10,000 impressions and it stops there. So if we can improve the quality of the content that we're putting out there, it doesn't mean that it can't convert, like I said. But if we can just improve that quality, you're gonna get so much more bang for your buck. And I've seen companies do it. I don't work on a project unless I get to see the needle move in a big way. It's just not fun anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bit of a rush that comes from this stuff. So I like seeing that needle move, and it's really fun when someone who's been spending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands on Facebook ads, and they're seeing decent results or no results. If we can see that needle move in a really big way, and all of a sudden that $1,000 they used to spend, and it used to get them like $1,500 back, and now they're getting 10,000 or 20 or 50,000 back on $1,000 spend.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's a dream come true, and I
That is.
love seeing that happen for companies, you know, big and small.
So often, this is one of the things that we've talked about. It's not ever the products. Like, yeah, you can get some sales with a product that's good,
Yeah.
but it's whether or not that product video has this viability to it.
So the product is really important.
Okay?
As you know, if it's a good shareable product, and that's a whole nother conversation, the principles in what I understand, whether it's a shareable video, there's such things as a shareable company, a shareable product, whatever, a shareable service. Word of mouth, okay? If a product is really, really good, 50 years ago, the reason it would succeed is because of word of mouth. There's no difference except for now our word of mouth happens in a digital format. And video is one of the most digestible, easy ways to communicate that. So when we create something on a silver platter that's really easy for us to share word of mouth, and we don't even have to like type up the words or say what it is, we can just share it with a friend or post it publicly. There's a reason we do that, but we're doing it because the product is good. Or sometimes if you're good enough, just because the marketing material is good enough. You know, how many people out there really care about Geico? But they really enjoy the videos, and therefore Geico's succeeded mainly on their marketing. And then luckily the product is just good enough to be able to support that.
Yeah.
So there is importance to having a good shareable product. It's really hard. I mean, look, we've done things from, you know, Flyboard, the water jetpack, all the way down to videos promoting awareness for colon cancer. Like literally the butt end of video content. It's possible to promote anything. Choosing what you're promoting is good. And so that would be another thing I would caution is don't go try and make a viral video for every product. If you have a variety of products in a different SKU, maybe out of those 10 products, there's really only one or two that you should be doing video content for.
We call it a driver because that one product drives all your traffic.
It drives the rest.
Yeah.
And so if you are a company that has one niche product, then sure, you got to do things that revolve around that. So you got to figure it out. It is possible.
So I had a company, you probably know them, Daily Dot. No offense, guys, if you're watching, but they reached out and they're like, hey, we want to work with you. We want to make a video for a couple of your products. I asked which ones. And I was like, hey, what do you do when you make a video so that so that there's that element of viability?
Yeah.
And they said quick clips to keep the attention, text on the bottom coming in and out, and then we showed an action. I'm like, okay, well, but like, what are the things when you're doing that and you storyboard this? What are you trying to do? Like, what is behind this frame and those words? Like, oh, we just, we don't want them to click away. So fast motion clips or fast motion. And it seemed a little bit maybe premature based on what you're talking about. So what are those things, if I'm going to create a video today on a product that I'm moving, and I get ready to sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write this video out. And by the way, what do you think about the 6-second or 7-second Facebook thing that they just came out with?
To be honest, I don't know about it.
Okay,
tell me.
I forwarded it to you.
Okay.
Facebook in their Q3 or whatever quarter it is, report said the optimal Facebook video is 6 seconds.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Vine's been resurrected.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So here's the thing. It's true that we need to keep someone's attention, right? Like 2 years ago, I'd speak at places, they'd say, what's the ideal time for a viral video? It depends.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Coney 2012? That video did insane. It was one of the most viral videos, and it was like an hour long. Then there's videos that are 2 seconds long and insanely viral. how much time do you need to get something across.
Interesting.
If you're showing a video that's like striking an emotional chord, maybe you don't quite cut it down to its bare minimum because it doesn't have the time to build up the emotion. Whatever you're trying to communicate, be as simple and direct as you can. So don't waste time, but if you need the extra time for the emotion to be there, whether that's the emotion of, oh, that's an awesome video, it's super helpful, I want to share it with someone. Oh, that video is super funny, I want to share it with someone. So the time, I think analytically, and if you're looking at the world as a whole, great. But that may not always pertain to a brand. Maybe they're looking at everything, including just user-generated content. So
that's true.
Great.
Yeah.
Analytics are great. Use analytics to your benefit, but don't get stuck by analytics. Remember that people are people. And yes, we are adapting and evolving in this digital world, but if you can cater to people instead of just the platform, then it can do well everywhere. Out of those 150 videos that we did, over 60,000 articles organically written about those videos.
Wow.
Across the world.
Wow.
And it's because we created something that was also valuable to a journalist. We created something that was also valuable to a news station, that was also valuable on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and word of mouth. Mm-hmm. People would just talk about it. Have you seen that video? Let me show you that video. Have you seen it? It happened on and offline. So don't worry too much about the platform. Be specific to the platform. Treat the platform as a personality. Don't think that content you create for Instagram can do just as well on Facebook. They're a different beast, they're a different personality, and you need to treat them as such, but humans are the same.
It was interesting, I read something, BuzzFeed was the first aggregation site to create different content per platform.
Yes.
And they say that that's why they hit their success. They had just one team for Instagram, one team for Facebook.
It's not one size fits all.
Yeah,
it's not one size fits all. Every platform is selfish. Everyone knows if you want to create a YouTube video, don't think that it's going to do as well as a Facebook video will on Facebook.
Yeah.
Why? Facebook prefers it. Whether it's the size of the thumbnail, the way that the text shows up, or even just their, algorithms in terms of what is visible and what's not. So treat each platform specific, and you can repurpose content and have evergreen content that works on different platforms and at any time, but don't get lazy. Make sure that you're thinking about how is this platform benefiting from what I'm doing? And if you can serve the platform, if you can serve the viewer, it's going to do pretty well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So as I hear what you say, and then I think back on my conversation with Daily Dot, I see like this surface level here, and there's these hacks and these tricks that are above surface, which is like short clips, text that floats across.
Basic principles.
And then there's everything below that actually, there's the philosophy of it creating the shareability, which in turn monetizes the video. Because everybody that's watching this right now is very, hyper focused on how do I monetize this.
Yep.
And so
stop thinking about views and start thinking about shares. I think everything that a company can sell, if you think about what Facebook can sell, what YouTube can sell, what Instagram can sell, it's views, likes, and engagement. Mm-hmm. But they can't sell shares. And so they're not going to really focus on it, and they're not going to talk about those principles. Facebook's going to tell you this is what does best. They're doing it based off of their selfish reasons.
Right.
So you got to think about that too. Yeah.
So if you're gonna step on the brake for a second, let's because recently you got interested in e-commerce. Yep. So let's say that you step on the brake, and let's walk everyone through a Cameron Manwaring's brain is saying, I am going to walk down a niche that I find interesting, and then I'm going to start creating content, choose products. What does that look like? Like what happens inside your brain that people can kind of observe from the third person and then grab gold nuggets?
Yeah. If you ask my wife, too much happens in my brain. and I'm one of those people that have 30 ideas every week of what could work. Uh-huh. And that's great. I think everyone needs to have some of that. One of the things you mentioned earlier, and you just repeated, is focusing on a niche. We live in a flooded world. And so if I really am going to focus on something, I want to be finding something that's a niche, and even a niche within a niche. So there's a great documentary I'd encourage everyone to go watch. It's called Press, Pause, Play. It's on YouTube, it's free. And it talks about we live in this world where everything has changed drastically. Like 20 years ago, if you wanted to be making videos and even doing what we're doing today, good luck. You need like $200,000, $300,000 in cameras. You need the ability to stream live on a TV network. You need blah, 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 blah. To have a conference, like what EcomCon is. You have to have a venue. You have to have all this stuff. So there's these limits. And there's limits for financial. And we live in this wonderful world where now so many of these barriers have been pulled down, and anyone and their dog can be a photographer and a videographer and a writer. My sister, who's 17 years old, could write something on Twitter and have more people read that tweet than a book that Malcolm Gladwell releases.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's also a little bit scary because we're in this flooded world. So it's learning how to float in a flooded world. There's so much stuff out there. Like even 4 or 5 years ago when I was starting to create videos, in all honesty, there was not as much competition. What used to be 1 in 2 million chance to get on YouTube, now it's like 1 in 10 million probably. I mean, so as more and more people are creating things and the market is getting more and more and more flooded, it doesn't mean that you just can't compete. But what it does mean is I would encourage you, and this is the way my mind works, is what is that niche and that niche within a niche? Can you be the guy that not only has a sock company, but you have a sock company that is for, people with one leg shorter than the other? I mean, as crazy as that is, and you think, well, because everything's so flooded, it's so hard to get past all of the clutter and sift through things that people have to be more specific. So, whatever your e-commerce project is, if you're going to do something broad, wait. Like have a little bit of patience and start with something that's niche. And then as that is successful, work your way out. The same applies if you guys watch like a YouTube channel, or if you watch ESPN. You watch ESPN because you like sports, because you like SportsCenter. If ESPN started doing cooking shows, and you turn on the channel and you're expecting SportsCenter and something else is on its cooking show,
lose a viewer.
You lose a viewer and maybe some interest and whatnot. Same thing with your website. Sometimes you really just need to give people what they want and let them know where. We talk about subscribers and followers and everything else. How many people here honestly go watch a video on YouTube because you're subscribed to them? You have to be subscribed in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you're subscribed in your mind, then you'll think, I wonder if they posted a video, and you'll go look and you'll watch it. But very rarely is it because you see your subscriptions come up, and out of all the hundreds you're subscribed to, you're gonna go watch. Sometimes, but rarely. So people have to be subscribed to it in their mind. So when you're competing with all this space, what's something so niche that someone can actually remember you for that? I mean, I'm forever known as the YouTube guy, okay? Not forever, but I'm known for that. And I've done really, really good at that. When I started my social media company, I knew Instagram and Facebook and Twitter just as good as anyone else. But I needed to be known for just one thing because that's all people could focus on. So we were the first, YouTube exclusive agency to focus only on YouTube. That was rare at the time. Now it's common. Same thing with your product. Can you at least be known for something? You're gonna have a lot better customer retention. You're gonna have people actually know who you are and remember and know how to describe you. People's attention spans are just really cluttered. So think about that. Anything else on that? A good business makes money. Some of the principles, and this is why we connected, and I think some of the things that you share so well are, is it doing well? And if it's not doing well, what needs to change? And so as you're doing this niche, and if it's not working, pivot, and know how to adjust. So you did that really well with the artwork in the beginning, and then pivoted to something else, and don't go into a niche thinking you have to be stuck there forever. People get really scared of that. But do go into a niche knowing that that's one way that you can stand out and get people's attention. How many billion-dollar companies are focused on one simple service and nothing else? And as these companies try and expand too fast, it kind of fails. I think Snapchat, for instance, I think they're on the decline, and I've been saying that for about a year, and it's because I think they started branching out really fast and getting a little too excited, and they lose their niche and their focus and what people know and love them for. So, anyways, I keep rambling.
Well, is that possible? Do you think that's possible with, say, dropshippers? Because there's people, I'll give you an example. One of the guys that's speaking, Ezra Firestone, his niche are women over 65 who like the natural makeup look.
Okay.
So, boom, because of baby boomers, by Cindy Joseph. He does between $1 to $2 million a month. Brand's 2 years old.
Yep.
And prior to that, he sold wigs online, Halloween costumes. But just, there's only so much you can peddle these things that you don't have passion about.
Yep.
Before you're like, where can I plant my flag and just be proud about what it is I do? And so he chose that large market, great way to do it. And his success has come because of one article, content marketing, a simple article that he wrote that some news agency picked up, and that did $10 million in a year for him. And so people see that. These are conversations that I have. They see that and they're like, okay, but I'm not in Crames, I'm not in Nutra, and the extent of my resources right now allow me to only buy what's maybe cheap on Amazon or cheap on AliExpress, not even in bulk on Alibaba.
Yep.
So how is it possible? And I mean, I'm speaking to people who are just starting out. How can that happen with those limited resources?
Okay, when you're talking about that, there's all these products out there, if I understand what you're saying, right, where they're kind of already done, or it just seems like they're just already there, too many of them, whatnot. One thing that I thought about, and you have a lot of experience with the airbag, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at that product when we first became friends, and I started seeing kind of the stuff you were doing, and I went, this was my side angle, was, okay, the airbag's already been done, right? But it's doing really well, but people are kind of a little bit... They've seen it. So feel free to steal this yourself or whoever else does, but I went, okay, well, what's the toughest airbag out there where the external material is actually pretty tough? I went, why can't the airbag double as a dry bag? So let's say you're boating or whatnot, and you say, hey, look, you can toss your towels and your clothes and whatever else in there, fill it up, wrap it up, put it in the boat, put it on the beach, and now your towels stay dry and whatever else, you can go float on the water and your towels stay dry, your clothes stay dry, and everything else, and it's an airbag and a dry bag because this one's super durable. And how are we going to show that? We're going to tie it to the back of the boat and go tubing behind it. And we're actually on the airbag, going off the wake on the airbag, showing how tough it is compared to the regular airbag. All it is a quality product that maybe 1,000 or 100,000 of the ones you've already sold could do the exact same thing, but it's a different angle.
Right.
How much does a dry bag cost? I mean, if you're going to buy a dry bag that size, $200 or something. If you're going to buy a big quality, so in all honesty, buying a dry bag that size is probably a little bit better for being a dry bag. But if it can be a chair and a dry bag, and people are going, I didn't want to just buy that because it's a little bit of a gag gift, or it's just not needed. I have a beach chair, it's all I need. But hey, it's also going to keep the stuff dry on the boat. It's a secondary thing. So I think there's always some sort of a new angle that can be used for any product that is currently existing. And a lot of the times it's finding that example of a product that just seems like it's been done, it's common, that's just what it is. And then what is the niche audience that could maybe be served by that that hasn't been exposed? And so stop thinking so general and just what's been done. Maybe the airbag could be much more for campers or boaters because of it being a dry bag. You when we were talking earlier, you mentioned a really good example of spy glasses where, they're wearing spy glasses and it's just spy glasses, but if it's for mountain biking, they're now downhill mountain biking glasses where you can see to the side and see to the back. And so, stuff that you've already been teaching, I think, there's always a new way to look at it. And I think the most important thing is how can it serve a niche market? How can you come up with that? That's marketing.
That's what excites me, because 37 Signals made it popular when they said scratch your own itch. in their book, whatever, Rework. Have you read that?
I haven't.
Dude, that seems like it's right up your alley.
Okay.
You should grab it, Rework. But they just say, hey, what we create is we scratch our own itch. And so that's why we say choose an itch that you love, because if you have an issue, find something out there that solves that. If it doesn't matter if it's for maternity. Like if it solves your issue, suddenly the perceived value, you can buy that thing in the dollar store.
Yep.
But when it solves this issue over here, you can sell it for 99 bucks.
Yeah.
If the quality's there, because the perceived value is completely different. And the best way to show perceived value is in video form.
Yeah. It's very quick. It's easy for people to see. It's tangible in a way that no other social media aspect is. And so it's really easy to relate to. If you're not doing video and you're doing something on e-commerce, explore it. It's worth exploring. If you're already doing video, you know, I would love to be able to help tweak some of the things that maybe you're doing wrong, where you could be saving yourself thousands of dollars just by making sure you're not, you know, spending your money the wrong way. And for some of these people that are starting out from the beginning, that can be really hard and detrimental. Spending $1,000 on an ad spend can be really hard. So if you can do some stuff that's more on the organic, great. And then once again, if you are a company that's already doing pretty well, you still need to be focusing on helping your videos be more shareable, because even if you're putting money into them, you know, they're either going to hit those eyeballs and stop right there, or they're going to have that shareable aspect where they hit the eyeballs and they spread and they spread and they spread.
All right. Awesome. Cameron, how can people find you and how can they engage with you?
Go to CameronManwaring.com. You know, I told you just a couple of years back that I sold my interest in the company, and I have a lot of exciting things that I've been working on, doing a lot of stuff in real estate, a lot of stuff in e-commerce, and really fun, exciting projects. In terms of this stuff, selfishly, I'm only opening up a few spots in probably comparison to a lot of people on here, but I am going to open up 10 spots if you go to CameronManwaring.com, where we can work on things one-on-one. And I love just cutting right to the chase. You know, if we spend a few hours or a few phone calls and maybe one in-person meeting, I'm not as much about what that specifically is as much as getting you to a place where you need to be. And I've done this so much that it doesn't take a ton of time. It just takes being willing to sit down and actually go through it and commit to some of these principles that will make sure you're spending your money in the right way. So 10 people, I will be working on one-on-one. You'll see that there. I am going to, because I know that there may be more people that aren't going to get that opportunity, I'm going to open up 20 spots where I'm not going to be spending as much one-on-one time. But something that I'm really, really good at is I can look at a list of 10, 20, 50, 100 ideas. And out of 10 ideas, I can tell you these 3 will work, these 2 you need to tweak, and these 5 you need to just throw in the garbage, because they're just never going to be worth your time. And I don't know how many companies I just see over and over and over release content that is not worth their time, mm-hmm. It's not worth their budget, and they're losing thousands and thousands and tens of thousands, and brands we worked with, millions, tens of millions, on just going down the wrong path. So for those 20 people, I'll provide some information where you can kind of do some of the learning on your own in terms of how to create shareable content, how to come up with videos, photos, etc. And then as a service, what I'll do is up to 50 ideas. You and your team know what product you're doing better than anyone else. You know, I know the strategy side better than anyone else. You know your product better. You guys come up with 50 ideas, up to 50 ideas, based off of some of the principles that I'll, you know, teach and suggest, and then bring those to me and I'll review them one by one, and I'll tell you which ones will work, which ones won't, which ones you could tweak and change, and, you know, save your guys a boatload of money and have success. You know, I want to see that needle move, and so excited to work on that with just a few of you. Maybe we'll open something else in the future, and maybe we can work on something that would be, you know, helpful for people in this space. But
man, that's awesome. Guys, real quick, it's funny because we talk with a lot of people, we interview a lot of people have approached us, and it's really interesting to see this concept of everyone's like, okay, I want to let them know that this is what I'm doing, this is how much it costs. And then the question that we go back to is, well, so what are you doing? And they had done something at one point in time, but they're not doing anything now. And I like working with people who are doing more themselves now and then make time to help, here and there, because those are legitimate people. And so that's exactly who Cameron is, doing way more of his own stuff, and so that's huge that you open that up. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate that. So they can find you on CameronManwaring.com, and thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Excited for this and excited for everyone here. Good
Awesome.
luck with all of the adventures. So.
Thanks, man.
Yep.